All right. So this is episode one. It is what it is podcast. I've got James and Adrian with me. So we are kicking off. Finally, have a guest on. Adrian. He's the first guy that I thought of. James was asking about who should have, and I said we got to have Adrian. I've interacted with him a ton, especially over the past 2 years. He's a firefighter, disaster responder. I guess we'll get into that. Prepper, coach, competitor, father, husband, grandfather, and a leader, and I would consider him a mentor too. So, yeah, without further ado, let's get into it.
And the what is it? What's the Lions?
The Lions
What is
Den?
it? The Lions Den champion, or what's
Yeah.
that called? What's the
The
official?
Firefighter Combat Challenge.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was a Lions Den member, state record holder for several years on that.
That's
On the
incredible.
course, yeah.
And the fire. Did you do fire police games too?
I did not do the fire police games
Okay.
when it came, so I didn't. I looked at several categories, but having surgery on my shoulder a year ago, I was just a little apprehensive about entering into anything. So I ended up just passing on it this time. Maybe next year, but maybe next time it comes around. Actually, I think it's 2 years from now. But
Yeah.
It's in Australia.
yeah, it's gonna be a little bit of a drive, but yeah, yeah, we had a lot of guys that did compete in it and did well. Had a guy that won first place in the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, took gold.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is this Vestavia?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah.
How about that?
And he trains a lot of police officers, hand-to-hand combat stuff. So
That's awesome. So let's just get into firefighting. How long have you been a firefighter? Have you been with Vestavia the whole time? Walk us through that journey.
So I started volunteering as a firefighter in 2004 at Centerpoint Fire Department, and then I actually became a career firefighter where I was actually getting paid in 2006 at Centerpoint as well. So, and then they educated me, put me through paramedic school, and sent me to the fire college for fire school, and started my career there. And then in 2008, I got hired at Vestavia Hills Fire Department and worked two departments. And I did that for 12 and a half years that I worked at Centerpoint. And then after my kids were grown and got out of the house, I just dropped back to just Vestavia, and I've been there for 17 years, been in the fire service as a career firefighter now for 19 years. So
How old were you when you started volunteering and
30.
full? Okay.
I was 30 years old.
What'd you do before that?
I worked at a place called Eastern Tire. I did chassis work. I did front end alignments for a living. Yeah, very hot, very honorable job.
So what made you decide to go the fire route? Is that something you
Well,
always wanted to do? Or?
Yeah, I did. I started to when I was about 21. I looked into going to EMT basic because everybody's like, you need to become an EMT basic, become a fireman. So I looked into that, and had a relative that actually had been a firefighter, and went to him and said, hey, I want to be a firefighter. He was like, you don't want to be a firefighter. There's no money. You're working a job now. You're making $40,000 a year, working 6 days a week. You're feeding your family. It doesn't. And he was right. At that time, it paid like $26,000 a year. So I was like, oh yeah. So maybe I don't need to be a firefighter, but I always wanted to. I always liked that adrenaline rush, the exciting side of it, and the helping. I wanted to be that person I want to be the person that's running into burning buildings. And so at age 30, I was like, I'm either gonna have to do this or not do it because I'm getting to be too old. And so I started volunteering and absolutely fell in love with it. And then I did a 160 class there. And then they said they were going to give one volunteer. They had like 25 volunteers, I think, that were active. And they said they were going to give one volunteer a shot at a position. So they sent us all to Rocky Ridge to do the CPAP. It's a test, a physical agility test. And I was the only person that passed it. So everybody else failed. So it kind of narrowed it down pretty quick. So yeah.
Well, there we go.
Okay. Yeah.
What is the test?
So it's a test where you have to climb. You start off for 3 minutes on a stair climber at 1 step a second. And you've got, I think it's 75 pounds that you're wearing on a vest. So a 50-pound vest with two 12 and a half weights sitting on your shoulders that are Velcroed on. So you go 3 minutes and 20 seconds on a stair climber and you can't touch the rails. So you have to walk unimpeded whatsoever. So you have to have good balance too. You come off of that and then you go straight over and have to pick up two saws, and you have to carry those, and you have to do a dummy drag, you have to do a breach and pull, you have to stand up a ladder, do a forcible entry, and the whole thing has to be done under, I think it's 10 minutes and 20 seconds, I think is the cap on it. So you have to complete it in under that amount of time. I was the only person that completed it.
Are you on air when you're doing that?
No, you're just wearing
Just the
street
gear?
clothes. Yeah, the only thing you're wearing is that weight, which simulates the weight that you carry. Because our gear, when we're fully in our gear, SCBA tools, everything's about 70 pounds. So that's to simulate what it would be like not even working, just carrying yourself on the fire ground, and then being able to pick up and move tools and drag a person. So
Where do people fail?
stairs.
Really, the first?
Most people don't make it off the stairs. Most people's legs give out, or they'll come off the stairs and they'll collapse. They'll come off the stairs as soon as they go to start walking, their legs just fall from underneath them. So if they're not conditioned on the stairs, because it's a pretty good amount of time with 80 pounds on your body if you're not used to that kind of weight. So
It's a long 3 minutes.
3 minutes and you got 20-second warm up that you get to touch the rail and bump the rail and get your balance. And then when they say 3, 2, 1, go, you can't touch anything for the next 3 minutes until they tell you to step off.
Does that include your legs? Like, can you press off your legs?
Nope, you can't. You can't touch it. Yeah, you have to. Your arms have to either down either side, or I actually grabbed the vest and just held on here and just stepped, and just one step in front of the other, just focused on the stair. It was not hard.
Was it challenging because everybody else failed?
Well, I would say challenging. Yeah, it was challenging, but it wasn't. So I guess me working in a front end alignment shop, guess what I did all day? I got up and down after I was up and down stairs all day long, getting up and down, up and down, up and down. So I think I had like a week to prep for it. They were like, hey, we're going to send some people over to do CPAP next week. You think you can pass it? And I was like, I don't even know what it is. And somebody printed me off a thing that had like directions on what it was. And I was like, yeah, I can do that. And then I went and just did it. So I didn't think failing was an option. I would have, in fact, I didn't know that anybody else failed because you're only allowed one person at a time out there. And then you had to leave. So I did it and thought everybody else did it. I didn't have a clue. And like 2 weeks later, I get a call from the battalion. She was like, hey, why didn't you tell me you passed CPAT? And I was like, I told you I was going to pass CPAT. He goes, yeah, but nobody else did. And I was like, what? No way. He's like, yeah. He's like, I think that helps out your chances. And I was like, that's awesome. Yeah. So, but then I didn't hear anything for like a month. Like, I didn't hear a word. Gosh. I was like, well, and then one day the phone rang and it was the chief of the department. Said, hey, we want to offer you a part-time position. We're going to let you work nights and keep your job until we'd send you away to recruit school. So I did both. For a while, just worked kind of part-time at the store when I was doing the fire. So just because, our schedule's, 24 on 48 off. So I had the time. So I did that, for a few years. But once I got hired at Vestavia, I was working 2 departments. So I was like, no way I was going to try and do it then. But
once you got on, or maybe even volunteer, what was your first call?
My very first call was to Arby's on a person passed out in the parking lot. Very first day volunteering. And actually I went to the fire station and I showed up and there was one guy there. All the trucks were out and they dispatched, what was called a car 15 at that time to the person that was unresponsive, and the guy that was driving said, hey, just jump with me on the fire truck. And I was like, okay. And he said, hey, just pick up the radio and say this and push that button. And I was like, oh, he's like, I don't know what to say. I was like lost. And I remember getting off in the parking lot. I didn't have any skill whatsoever. I was just standing there watching. So I wasn't doing anything. But but it was interesting to see. So
why were they passed out?
Oh, I don't remember now. It was just a person passed out in the parking lot.
So speaking of first call, I want to know some crazy calls.
Oh, crazy calls.
I also want to know like the craziest call, like some weird calls. I don't know. I don't know anything about firefighting. I've learned a lot about police officers and what they do all day.
Yeah. That's kind of a hard subject because
a lot of people think it's fighting fires. That's what I always thought until I have had conversations with you. It's like firefighters could just go fight fires and they wait for fires and there must be fires all over the place.
No. I mean, like 95% of what we do is medical. So the fire, and it's the existence of the fire service. I mean, if all we did was sit around and fight fire and they paid us, they would not be anybody on duty. They would not pay us to sit at that firehouse and wait on fires because they would be like, we run like 3 structure fires a year in Vestavia. So, and I'm talking about real, like actual structure fires, where we're laying lines and, we do kitchen fires all the time where it's, or small stuff like that. But actual fires is getting less and less because building construction is getting better and better and sprinkler systems and things like that. So, so the medical side of it's our existence, providing that service to the public, having transport units and paramedics on staff. And I'm even on what's called an ALS engine. Like the fire truck that I ride on every day can do everything the ambulance can do except for take you to the hospital. We've got a drug box, defibrillators, we've got everything. So we can do everything except for take you to the ER. So we have licensed paramedics on every apparatus now. So that's how we run things. So
yeah, and I want to go back to the crazy calls, but is the majority Like, is it like heart attacks or like drugs? Like, what are most
It's everything. So it really depends on, so we've got a pretty transient population that comes through Vestavia. We go at 65 North, 459. You've got Columbiana Road, Montgomery Highway. There's hotels down there. Us and Hoover split I-65. They've got southbound, we've got northbound. So all the hotels on this side are in Vestavia. Everything on the other side is going to be Hoover. So you see in those hotels, those gas stations, stuff like that, you'll see overdoses, things of that sort. We have a lot of nursing homes and assisted livings our that are in that area too. So we run a lot of strokes, cardiac arrests, things like that. We've also got the Swade Clinic, which is a big medical building there. So they have where they do a lot of surgeries. So we get calls there on allergic reactions to medication. So we see everything from cutting.
So someone's there to have a surgery done.
That's what I was
but
thinking.
They have an allergic, like they're having some kind of surgery done, but there's an allergic reaction, so they call the fire department. Like, can the hospital staff?
You do realize that UAB, when they have a cardiac arrest, like in their buildings, they call 911. The fire department comes and gets them.
That's
wait a minute.
They have
a level 1 trauma center.
So, but yeah, the ER is.
Yeah. Okay.
The ER is, but if you go over to the Kirkland Clinic where they do endoscopies, and you go into full arrest in there, they've got a crash cart, but they don't have.
Don't they have their own like little team where
they do? They have a code team. They do have code teams, and they still come in the fire. We still transport them. We come in, work with them, and we transport.
There's no, because I've walked like, and you can walk like from UAB to Children's to Kirkland, all via crosswalks.
Yeah.
All indoors.
Yeah.
Why would they take someone outside to load them in an ambulance to get run over in traffic to drive around the circle?
So my wife works for the Kirkland Clinic. She works, and the Birmingham Fire Department comes in there and takes patients and takes them to the ER. So that
seems wildly inefficient.
It works. It's fast.
Is it like a liability thing, or
I don't know the legal side of it. I just know that we run doctors' offices, and I mean a lot of these docking boxes. People go there for a cold or something. They go in there and start having chest pain. They call us, and we go in and we transport them. We hook them up. So you got to remember that it's. Emergency medicine is what we do every day. So a physician who works in an endoscopy lab, he learned that stuff when he was in medical school, but it may have been 30 years ago. So he's not going to be up on all the current stuff where we stay current on it. We train on it all the time. That's what we do. So.
All right. Well, I know it's probably hard to think of a quote unquote crazy call that you don't mind sharing on the internet.
I can think of crazy calls, but it's ones I can't talk about.
On the internet. But how about this then? What about a time that you were like genuinely scared or in fear? Because I know my top 2 for mine. Like I just know that, like, when I was like after the call, like I was like, that's when I started to like shake and whatnot after it was all said and done.
I think probably the most, of course, every time you pull up and you don all that equipment and you go into a fire, there's, I don't call it fear then, because I always tell you, if you're not scared, you're going to get killed. And I don't think it's scary, it's the respect. So I respect what fire can do. I respect what it can do. And I know it can kill me. And so every time I'm putting that gear on, I mean, I'm nervous. I mean, I feel like I'm about to go into a competition or a fight, or, my heart's racing. I'm nervous. Of course, as soon as you break through that front door, it's just like anything else. The nervousness leaves and you just go into work mode. You know what you got to do. But every time that tone goes off and it was reported, heavy smoke showing, because we get dispatched structure fires all the time. We get there, it's nothing. But when they say we're receiving multiple calls on this, like this is real. Unknown occupancy, when you pull up and there's cars in the driveway, so there's possibility people are actually in there. So that heightens your adrenaline. So then your adrenaline rush is just really pumping. You're just, so it's, so every time you go into a structure fire, but I ran a medical call one time it came in as a seizure. Apartment complex, when I was working at Centerpoint, and got there and walked in, and there was quite a few people in the room, and there was a gentleman laying in the floor, and he didn't have a shirt on, and it was just a small like a smudge of blood on his chest. And he took an agonal respiration. It's something that you recognize when you've been doing it a long time. It's the last fish breathing. It's like the last couple of breaths a person's takes their brains trying to make them breathe. So I saw this guy take this, and I said, that looks like an agonal respiration. And I went and told one of the guys, I was checking for a pulse. And he reached down and he said, yeah, he's got a pulse. And then I saw him take another agonal respiration. I said, there's no way he's got a pulse. And so I reached down, and when I reached down, I put my hand on his chest. I saw an incision open up. And I reached down and I pulled it, and there was a knife wound in his chest. So, and then I turned around and look, and then laying on the floor, there's a steak knife, just like a steak knife out there, kind of, you just, laying there on the floor, and it's got blood to the handle on it. And what happened was, evidently there was a domestic boyfriend-girlfriend thing, and she turned around, punches this guy in the chest, stabs it just straight in the aorta. So we snatch him up, and about the time we snatch him up, they realized we knew what would happen, and at that point, it turned into fighting our way to get out of there. And the fact that people were piled on top of the rescue truck and were riding on the rescue truck out of the apartment complex trying to get in the rescue truck at that point.
Wait, what?
Yeah. So
who's on the rescue
Well,
truck?
because, typically, like, let's say they knew it was a domestic. They're going to have the police, because we have guns.
we would stage.
They would stage, and we're going to go get their, hey, scene secure,
Correct.
bring them
So
in. And
we
a lot of
went
times
in.
it'll be scene secure, come in quick, like this guy's dying, whatever.
Yeah.
But they've got, or they're at least not supposed to have on them any kind of weapon like that as part of their job.
Yeah.
But when it gets called in as a seizure,
Come in as a seizure, routine call. It turned into a stab wound.
murder.
A murder. It was a murder. And yeah, so and we shouldn't have been there. So what we should have been, we should have been staged down the block. Police come in, they come in, secure the scene, and then we go in, take the patient, and we leave. But that's how we operate. We always have them go in. We don't carry guns. We don't carry anything. I carry a pocket knife. That's all I carry, and I use that for cutting seatbelts.
Well, you had a steak knife on the ground.
Yeah, that was a steak knife. Yeah. Somebody probably would have been mad if I reused it. So. But needless to say, that was really, in the fact that there were people on the truck trying to get in the truck with us. I mean, it turned really south.
When you say people trying to get on the truck, you're not talking about other firefighters. You're talking
No, I'm talking about the public, the members of this family, the members. There was a lot of people there. I don't know who all the people were there. But evidently was two sides that were there. So it got ugly really quick. So we ended up fighting our way out of that. And
So they were legit other people trying to get in the fire truck.
Into the rescue truck. It was
What?
an ambulance. It was a rescue truck that we were transporting him to UAB.
Were they trying to get?
I don't know what they were doing. They were just on that
That's
truck.
wild.
They were trying.
They were
They were
upset.
banging and beating on the truck, trying to get into the truck. Because it all changed once we reported cardiac arrest. So it's like I think the reality of this guy's dead kind of hit. So it was, So it was a pretty hostile
smokes.
environment there for a little while. But
The police come flooding in.
oh yeah. Well, we got it. We passed them. Yeah, we passed them as we
Yeah.
were.
Bye, guys.
Yeah.
Good luck.
See y'all. Enjoy. And I had another one. So we had a guy who had committed. So this guy had shot himself in the head, and it was an apartment complex. About 2:00 in the morning, not a soul around. The vehicle's backed out, and evidently the guy put the car in drive and then shot himself. Well, then the car hung on the speed bump, so it's sitting in drive on the speed bump. He is laying halfway in and out of the vehicle because a buddy of his came out there and opened the door. Well, he fell out when he opened the door. So we get there, and the Jefferson County's there. They report scene secure. They only had one deputy that was there because they're very overwhelmed. So they had one deputy there. He pulls up, reports it secure. We pull up, and this guy starts running around the apartment, yelling, "They killed him! They killed him!" And this cop's like, "Hey, nobody killed him! They killed him!" And lights start coming on. People start coming outside.
What area was this in?
Yeah, same area.
You said this was Center Point.
Yeah, it was on Center Point Parkway, and then all of a sudden people started flooding out. Well, then people started yelling, and then they started arguing with this. Well, this deputy ends up grabbing this guy and throws him in the car because he's just like inciting,
Oh yeah.
screaming, "They killed him! They killed him!" Well, we're the only ones out there, So the battalion chief was there, and I walked in. I was like, "Hey, I don't need anything else. We can go right now. This is a death in the field. We're leaving." And we backed out of there in a great big hurry because it was fixing to get very, very, very gnarly in a great big hurry. So
yeah.
So that was and you're just Yeah, I felt bad for the deputy because we left him there. But it was like, hey, I don't have a gun, so I don't have any way to defend
Unless you're gonna
ourselves.
start fire extinguishing
Yeah, all I can do is run away. So. Yeah,
Jeez.
but and then I can think of 1,000 other calls of just you see some crazy stuff. But those are probably the most nervous that I've ever been.
Have you ever, not make you tell on yourself or whatever, because everybody's made mistakes, right?
Sure.
Have you ever, especially like young firemen, like done something that put yourself in a questionable situation where later you were like, that was stupid. I should have never done that. I know better, my training, whatever.
I don't know that I've ever just like done something that I thought was just stupid.
Yeah.
But of course, with my brain, I analyze everything to death. So we run a lot of, we run cardiac arrest. We run a lot of bad calls. Lay in bed at night, stare at the ceiling, and break them down, break them down,
Yeah.
break them down, and break them down, and I break them down, and I break them down. Until I figure out a way to file them. And I have this. I guess everybody has their own system for how they deal with the stuff you see and how you compartmentalize that. And I don't. For years, we did the post-incident stress debriefings. They started doing that, and then they found out that was a bad idea. So we quit doing those because not everybody needs to talk about. And everybody deals with what they see in different ways. Some people don't need to talk about it, and that's how they deal with it. And there's other people who need to talk about it. And the best thing about the fire service is we talk to each other, and it's easy for us to talk to each other because we were there. Especially, you were on that call with me. So I don't go home and talk to my wife about a lot of the bad things that I see because she can't relate. But we talk to each other. But they would bring somebody in from the outside, and they would come in, and you almost felt like you were sitting in a shrink's office or something. And it was uncomfortable. Nobody's going to say anything, because everybody's like, "Hey, I'm tough. I'm a fireman. I'm not supposed to get upset." So it was worse than just let us metabolize our own. But we do have employee assistance. We got all kinds of things we can use if we need it. But digesting it together is usually the best how we deal with that kind of stuff.
I wanted to ask too. One thing you said, he asked fear or scared, because I was telling Candace the other day. I don't know if I really experienced scared, because to me that word is like I don't know what's coming and I'm like anxious about it.
Yeah.
And you what you kind of said resonated with me, that like you're not really fearful because you know what's coming. How do you process? How do you go from like not being afraid of the unknown, even though it's a little unknown, and like approach it?
Training.
Yeah, to where
It's training your brain, staying educated, well, I mean, first of all, for me, being physically fit to me is the number one thing. It's because your confidence, if you're physically able to do it, versus if you start to let yourself go, because you see a lot of firemen who get really physically fit and then they get complacent, and in your brain, you're still thinking, oh, I did that in recruit school. I can still do this. I can still do that. But if you're not out there getting in turnout gear and getting in the equipment and dragging things around and keeping yourself in a gym and keep yourself physically fit, then your confidence is going to go down, which then that's going to raise that fear level to me. So for me, it's training. It's training my brain, taking classes, staying educated, staying up on the most, the most research from building construction. Because understanding what this building's made out of, what's actually going to burn in here and what's not, how long can this be on fire before it's going to collapse, knowing those things and staying up on the training and keeping yourself physically able to do the job, to me takes that where you're going to be fear and brings it down here to a level where you can actually metabolize it and say, I'm prepared. So the same thing as if you were going into a competition. If you're going to do a CrossFit competition and you didn't do anything for 2 months before and then you showed up, be pretty hard, pretty wrough day. I wouldn't even want to walk through the doors of it. But if I'm training, my confidence level is going to be completely different. So that's how I deal with it, and I think that's how most guys deal with it. So
and I can relate to what you said about like you're nervous until you get in the door.
The second you breach the door, it's gone.
And it's the same. It's the same like when we run like a search warrant or whatever. I never really sleep good the night before, and most of the time it's because I'm thinking I already know what the plan is.
Right.
And so I'm thinking about if the plan needs to change, if there's anything we're missing, going back over like the intelligence beforehand, and then, like that morning, making sure we have everything, making sure everybody's paying attention, all that sort of stuff. When we're in the van, we usually put on music and kind of chill and
Sure.
whatnot because, ours is more of a slow get over there versus a lights and sirens type thing with the fire call. But once it's time to unload,
Yeah.
like it's a whole different feeling.
Yeah.
You're like,
It's where your training
you're
takes over.
chilling.
Yeah.
You know what you're supposed to do. And it's almost comical at that point because like we had one that it was as soon as we got up to the front door, breached it. The dude said, "Y'all come in here, I'm gonna shoot." And like, what do you say? What do you say? And I remember popping my ears off, and I was cross covering with a buddy of mine. I was like, "What did he say?" He goes, "I don't know." I was like, "Police." He said, "Y'all come in here, I'm gonna shoot." And it was like, "Ha!" I was like, "Hey guys, he just said if we come in, he's gonna shoot." And like I said, it was literally like a laughing moment because like, okay, now we're gonna do the full dog and pony show, right? So we backed up and did the surrounding call out and all that. But it was even in those kind of moments, it's just like
Right.
you have a protocol or you have like what you have to do if this, and this happens. So yeah, I can kind of relate to
That's
that.
where your training takes over and takes that level of anxiety down.
I want to reframe the question too, because this is pretty enlightening for me. Because when I was having this conversation like last week with Candace, we were watching a show and a dude was like, "I'm scared," and I was like, "I'll never say that." And I told her I was like, there's nothing in my life that is. There's plenty of things that like could financially hurt me or relationally or mentally, but I was like, what's the worst that could happen? I'm not gonna die. Like nobody's at risk, but you guys actually could. Like I think you told me you wrestled with a guy that had a gun and you go into structure fires. So I think the number one thing that affects kids right now is anxiety. Like the number one, Anna was telling me she was doing her teacher training. That's the number one mental health, not depression, not ADD, not autism or whatever it is. It's anxiety.
Right.
And but you guys, because I told Cancer what's worst can happen, I'm not gonna die. How would you advise somebody and all these people that struggle with anxiety to not get over it, but to handle that? And it sounds like you're saying like gather facts, like you're training, and rely on true like what you know. But at the end of the day, that is kind of out of your control. Like that is. So what would your advice be to people?
Mine is latching on to people that you can truly trust. Like I got some guys at work who are my ride or dies, right?
Yeah.
And I would literally, this would be tactically stupid, but I trust them enough that I would turn my back on a bad guy with a gun because I know they got my back. Just full stop. Like I would do it. And on the fear thing, like the number one, like, yeah, I fought with a dude on the side of the road because I was a young cop and I did something stupid and I pulled a dude out of the car because I could see a county car up ahead and I was like, if anything goes bad, he's right there. Well, then things went bad and he didn't drive over because he didn't know what was going on, right? He probably couldn't see it. But I didn't freak out until after I dropped him back to the jail or whatever, and I got back in my car and I got 10-8, and then you hunt. Have you ever been hunting?
I did when I was a teenager.
Yeah, and so like the buck fever or whatever, that adrenaline dump you start.
Yeah.
I had that in the car, just shaking, and I was like, because the realization set in, like, oh, I just fought with someone over a gun.
Right.
So there's that, but the most scared I've ever been was when I knew that one of my buddies was on a call. It was at the bowling alley, and they were putting out guy with a gun, and then he was yelling, I got one running towards Target, and then they're trying to call him on the radio, and he's not answering. And I'm all the way up on the mountain by Walmart. And that was the most scared I've ever been because there was nothing, I could not get to him fast enough.
Yeah.
I mean, I was 130 miles an hour. It was night shift on the interstate. And it was like, even then, it just felt like I couldn't get to my buddies fast enough. And that was by far the number one, like, scaredest I've ever been at work. It was just over that, though, not over, like,
Not
the
being able
situation.
to be there, trying to get there. Yeah.
What would be your advice to somebody who struggles with anxiety? Because apparently the vast majority of people have anxiety, which I guess anxiety, the definition of that is worrying about things that are in the future or even in the past and feeling like you just don't have control or whatever.
Yeah. So for me, so I've noticed something about firemen, and over the years is you become really routine driven, and I think it's control the things you can control because everything else is out of your control. So I think because I watch how some guys actually they schedule things. Like we've got some guys that they'll come in the fire station. Well, they always park at the same spot. Come in the fire station and they do the same routine every day. Like they take their clothes, put them in the washer, go over and check this, do this, and you watch and there's this routine that they do. And I'm guilty of it as well. Like there's these routines that I do, and I think that's the control because everything else is not control. So I think for me, it's learning to control what I know I can. So that becomes my routine. That's my comfort. I set my clothes, I always fold my clothes and put them on a certain chair. And that's kind of so that routine lets me maintain control what I know I can. And then everything else I know I can't. I still think it just goes back for me. I mean, kids are dealing with a whole different type of anxiety than what I would deal with anxiety wise. My anxiety is, like James talking about, the things I think about are not getting to a child that would be in a house. That's the thing I play over and over in my head 1,000 times. Not, in fact, I've had nightmares about it. I had nightmares about not getting to someone in me. And that's the biggest fear is not completing the task that you've been trained to do. And to me, that would be the ultimate failure. And it happens. That's the thing. Because from the time a fire starts to the time a fire goes out, there's a timeline there. How long somebody can live inside a structure fire. If you don't hit that window, there's nothing you can do. So that's that's the anxiety for me runs on to not being able to do what I'm supposed to do. But I mean, as far as dealing with it, like I said, for me, it's like I talked about earlier, it's training and stuff like that. What kids are dealing with now, I think it's this.
Yeah.
They're keeping their brain running. I mean, my granddaughter, we give her limited time on her tablet because, her brain's running 1,000 miles an hour, and then you can watch her when she's not. Then she's just like, just wanting to be busy. Can't sit down, can't sit still. So then you sit them down, sit them still, and their brain is still trying to run 1,000 miles an hour. Trying to figure out how to put that brake on is just, I think it's limiting the amount of exposure they're getting to the things they see every day.
And I would even say like getting uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Like getting into uncomfortable situations. Like if you don't like being up talking in front of people, like go talk in front of a small group, first. And then, if that's something that gives you anxiety or whatever, public speaking or Logan, obviously she has times where she freaks out over stuff. And we were leaving to come up here. And we have a little ramp from the front door to get down onto the driveway to load up in the van, and she's gone up it and down it.
Yeah.
100 times, more than that, whatever. But out of nowhere, she was like, It's like, what? And she was like, I'm nervous I'm going to fall. I was like, you're not going to fall?
Yeah.
Like, go. And she was like, I was like, no, go. It's not trying to be a jerk or anything, but it's a little bit of tough love. It's like,
sure.
And then she went down it and was fine, and then like everything was good, right? But if I come to her rescue every single time she's uncomfortable, then she's always going to be uncomfortable. And so I think there's also a little bit of, might be controversial, a little bit too much babying going on, right? A little bit too much like. And I cuddle and love on my kid all the time, and she knows Daddy loves her. But at the end of the day, like if she does something wrong, especially if it was a fixable mistake or an avoidable mistake, then she's going to get in trouble, and she's going to have consequences to those actions. And I think there's a little bit too much like we're in the time where things are good, and there's and so it tends to make people a little bit softer.
Yeah.
We're definitely in a softer time. There's no doubt about that. I mean, we talked earlier, I was talking about, just the hiring processes and trying to find, the job that we do is still, dirty fingernails and gritty. It's, we walk around in those pretty uniforms during the day, but when it comes time to getting down, you're doing chest compression on somebody and you're kneeling down in blood and feces and everything else. And then when you go into a structure fire, it's nasty, dirty, grindy, hard physical labor work. So we have to find people that are good in both areas, and that's hard to find. It's hard to find somebody that's college educated. Hey, I'm college educated. I'm a paramedic, but I'm also have the skill to go into this building and pull ceiling and floors and cut walls and operate machinery for 3 hours. So so finding that skill is getting harder and harder to do, because used to, when we hired people from the fire service, they grew up on a farm. And they grew up out working with their hands. They worked on tractors and they worked on their own lawnmowers, and they had hand skills when it came to mechanical things, and they knew how to cut wood. They understood building construction. Now, we're not teaching that anymore. So now it's these and computers and, watching TV and things like that. So we still have those same tools. You still got to be able to take a pair of spreaders and open a car up with it. You still got to have that. You got to be able to operate a chainsaw. So you still got to be able to do all those. And on top of that, you got to be able to crank it. So, and then when it doesn't crank, you got to build. I mean, we go all the way back to, like, we're hiring people now who've never held a chainsaw. They've never even, we hired one that never even cut grass before. Had to teach them how to use a lawnmower. So it's one thing to teach them how to cut with a chainsaw. Then you got to turn around and show them when it doesn't.
I know it is. I'm just having flashbacks of
when the chainsaw doesn't start, they'll just put out a service tag on it later. And it's like, well, did you check the spark plug? What is that? What's a spark plug? It's like, come. So we have to go back now, where used to you were getting people that were mechanically knowledgeable and could do these things. We're having to go all the way back and start from, like, scratch. Like, this is a chainsaw, and start there. And it's a lot of training.
So you're on the interview panel.
Correct. Yes.
For Best Navy. So I'm on the interview panel at the police department. So let's talk about that for a little bit, right?
Before you say that, I'm laughing because I'm having flashbacks. So Kelly Olcott used to own CrossFit J19 or J19 Fitness, and he had a competition, Battle of the Ages.
Yeah.
And one of the events was handsaw 6x6, and it was for time. And I think all 5 partners
everybody had to do it. Everybody had to cut through a 6x6 piece of pressure treated wood. One cut. And he brought a 6x6. I don't know if it was pressure treated or. Yeah, it was a pressure treated. Yeah, it was pressure treated.
Okay,
yeah, just a regular pressure treated 6x6.
And I literally.
Like where this is going.
Oh yeah.
If Kelly watches this, I want to preface: I was not mocking Kelly or the event at all.
Oh no, that was a great idea. It's a fantastic idea.
But I was having a side conversation with Adrian, pre-workout or post-workout, and he's got this 6x6 out of the back of his truck. And Kelly tells me what the event is, and I was like, Adrian, this is the silliest event. And he said something like, why? And I was like, who can't cut a 6x6? And he goes, nobody. And I was like,
he said we're gonna win.
Yeah. Well, we were talking about prepping. That's what started the whole thing. Because I kept telling him, I was like, hey, if there's martial law declared in 90 days, 70% of the population's dead. 90 days, 70%. He's like, there's no. I was like telling you, people don't have skills.
Because this was 2020.
Yeah, it's like people don't have skills. People don't have. Yeah, I mean,
if you get him going, no, he'll.
Yeah, it's like people don't have skills. People are going to sit in their house. They're going to not do anything. They're just going to wait on the power company and the police and the military. They're going to wait on people to show up, and they're going to starve to death. And I said, the ones who are going to try and do something, they don't have skills. Well, when that showed up that day, I was like, oh, I'm fixing to show you right here, right now.
I learned because Kelly got me over there, and there was a couple girls tried to do it and they couldn't do it.
Yeah.
And they'd been in the saw, and I was like, of course. And he got me to do it, and he was like, the record's 21 seconds, and I think I did 20.
Yeah, you did 19. I did 20. So we both broke the record, but then he beat me on it. So
and I thought, that to me, I was like, see, like everybody's gonna get 20 seconds. And he was like, nobody can cut this. I was like, nobody can. And he goes, watch. He goes, I'll pick somebody. And I was like, okay. And we literally picked the biggest guy in the gym at the time.
Yeah. It was like, hey, come here for just a second.
And if anybody's watching this, don't get an idea of like who you think. It was at the time, so it's a very random person. But this guy's athletic.
Yeah.
And intelligent.
Yeah.
Very intelligent. And he goes, hey, Joe. Joe's not his name. Joe, hey, come do this. And I was like, what a goober. Why'd he pick that guy? Adrian picked him. And I was like, he should have picked somebody that hasn't worked with his hands. This guy's obviously capable. And he went over there and could not even get like the teeth to grab. He was
Kept
bending,
bending the saw and straightening it. Never cut it. Never did cut it.
gave up,
Finally quit. Just
stared at it like
I
it
said,
was foreign.
Yeah.
And
I
just
said,
walked away.
yeah, he walked away. There was no, well, he needed to. I mean, there was, yeah, he needed to. But, which was, and I was like, told you. I said, it's bad. Like the number of people who actually have hand skills and skills to do any kind of hand work or physical work is lost to this world right now.
So if you remove the college degree, if you were to boil it down, because I've told people, like, what do you look for when you're hiring people? You know, hire for drip here. And to me, like, if I boil it down as simply as possible, it's experience. And the way I define experience isn't even like successful experience, like years of whatever. It's just trying something. Yeah. Like trying and failing. I don't consider failing bad.
No.
But just trying, and that's it. Really, maybe it might be experience, just trying.
Yeah.
So how would, if somebody was wanting to be a firefighter, what would you say is like, here's the thing you should be working on? Is it manual labor or is it just grit?
It's just grit. I mean, first thing, when I started doing CrossFit, of course, I started CrossFit, for the fire service, because I was trying to, you talked about the Lions Den a little while ago. That was my goal. I was trying to get in the Lions Den. I wanted to be one of the elite. I wanted to be in the top 0.01% in the world and be a Lions Den member. And I was so far away from it. In fact, I thought it was like, this is like crazy unobtainable. And started talking to the guys that were doing it when they traveling the country and racing, and they were like, they did CrossFit. They did CrossFit. I was like, okay, I'm going to do CrossFit. So, and CrossFit is, and I think this is one of the best things for our job, for what we do, just because it is, the constant varied part is exactly what the fire service is, constantly varied. We never know what's going to be thrown at us. 1 minute you're walking around checking a smoke detector, and 10 minutes later you're picking a 400-pound person up that's passed out in a tub, and trying to figure out how to get them out of a tub, and then to extricate somebody out of a vehicle in the middle of a highway. So it's always varied. So physical conditioning is the first place you have to start, but also mental conditioning. I think the expectations of what people think the fire service is and what it really is two different things. It's work. Yeah. Everybody, y'all playing checkers in there? No, we don't. I've never seen a checkerboard in a fire station. We come in every day and we have things we have to do. I mean, we have a punch list from cutting grass and painting to checking trucks and all the stuff that we have to do. We maintain our own facilities. We clean everything. We do all of our own stuff. So, and then on top of that, we have training, mandatory training, and then we're also running calls in between that. Mm-hmm. So I think mentally being prepared for the fact that also you don't sleep a lot if you're in the fire service. So you're going to get up a lot at night. So it's can get heavy sometimes on that side. You've seen that. Oh, yeah. Because I've come in here. You've seen me days when I've come in here after an all-nighter and I get halfway through a workout and I'm done. Mm-hmm. I mean, mentally I just can't push myself. I'm finished.
It's like, what's the point at that point?
Yeah. So, and I look, my drive is gone at that point. Like my body's tired, drive's gone. I'm just like, and I'm doing it just so I can sleep good tonight. I need to get in here and sweat so I can not be restless all night. So, but yeah, physical, mental preparedness, just get yourself in good shape.
Yeah.
It's a good starting point.
I could see CrossFit and just, there's so many workouts, especially during the open, where it's way too long and way too easy, and you're doing way too many reps, and you just have to go, I'm not going anywhere. Yeah. I'm finishing this, and I'm going to hurt for a long time.
Right.
And it is, I don't want to use the name of the podcast, but yeah, it is what it is. I'm just here.
Yeah.
I'm not, like when you're at work. I remember, I've definitely never been a firefighter, but a 2-minute truck, and we'd get off work and they'd say, hey, you're going to Georgia. And it's like, what? It's 4 p.m. I got a date tonight. It's like, no, not anymore. You don't. Like they gave Patrick, our buddy, gave him, they said, all right, you're going to South Carolina. Here's some 2-minute truck underwear. And you just have to go, all right. No complaining. There's nobody to call. Your mom doesn't care. Your boss doesn't care. You just have to go do it.
Yeah. So you're talking about the hiring process. So it's definitely changed. It's changed. Okay, let's talk about this softer culture we're in right now.
So yeah, I would love to hear. So I'm not a big fan of all of our questions.
Right.
There's definitely some stuff I'm looking at changing. I just have to get like approval on that. But talk about the answers that people give
Oh,
that make you roll your eyes.
yeah.
And I'll do some of mine too. But you got to go first. I want to hear, because I want to see if it's similar.
So the last question. So the first question we ask in an interview is it's just like like when we started this. You tell us about yourself. Who are you? Tell us a little bit about you, because you know as well as I do. There's questions you can't ask in an interview. Correct. So there's hopefully in that tell us about yourself, you get a lot of that information that helps differentiate something. But the last question that we ask is, why do you want to work for the Vestavia Hills Fire Department? And that's where
not just firemen in general, but for specifically Vestavia.
Yeah, specifically for Vestavia. So because we're personnel board, so that means it goes through the process, and some of I've gotten answers from. There's one guy, absolutely, and I quote, "Chuck E. Cheese is in Vestavia, and my mom brought me to Chuck E. Cheese, and I always liked coming here."
That's better than I thought it was going to be.
It's a grown man. That's a grown man that said that. So I've also been told that we have very pretty dogwood trees. So somebody said, because we have beautiful dogwood trees in the median over on Columbiana Road, and I had to tell them they cut those down years ago.
He was like, "Well, I guess we're done here."
So yeah, when a girl coming home from college wrapped her car around one pretty dogwood trees, they decided they were going to take them out. Yeah. So. But yeah, I've had some really, and then there's people that hit it out of the park. That's because y'all got, they'll rattle off our square mileage and the fire chief's name, and just talk about our training, and they'll really knock it out of the park. But I've gotten some. The Chuck E. Cheese was probably the best one. So, and he looked like he'd been there quite a bit. So he definitely didn't sell himself on that one. So
I feel like I could pick him out of a lineup. Like,
you can pick him out of a lineup. Yeah. You can pick him out of a lineup. So
nothing wrong with Chuck E. Cheese.
Well, the higher part,
okay, by the way,
today's sponsor is Chuck E. Cheese.
The hardest part about the interview process is, we're spending 10 minutes to make a 25-year decision. Mm-hmm. So to find, we have 13 questions that we answer, and of course everybody brings in a resume. Most people bring in a resume. And we do, we probably do like y'all do. We look at all their social media. We look at all what they're posting, what kind of comments are they making. I mean, they're interviewing with all their social media. All of that's being looked at, because we've got a group that looks at all that before, studies all that stuff really well.
They don't think about it.
No, they don't think about it. They don't think about it. And there's a lot we won't call. Just we'll pull up their social media, and they're going to do not call it. They'll go on to do not eligible for another call. I mean, that immediately just off some of the like, this guy's very angry with the world, so we don't need him here. So, but yeah, we get some interesting.
Yeah, my eye roll ones are always like, you ask them why you want to be a cop, why you want to be a police officer. I just really want to help people. It's like, okay, how do you want to help people? Well, I just think it'd be good, get out in the community, play basketball with some kids, and and to do this, and just really try to make a positive impact, and try to change the perspective of police. Okay, well, how do you think you can change the perspective on policing? Well, just not everybody needs to go to jail. It's like, okay, I agree with you. So what shouldn't we take people to jail for? What do you plan on not taking? And then they kind of get all like, it's like at the end of the day, like, our job is to be neutral. Right. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, you can have some discretion and and whatnot, because of course not everybody needs to go to jail. But at the same time, I tell people, like, for the most part, in this community, those kids have friends and fathers and mothers and grandfathers to play basketball with them. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, have I gotten out and played basketball with kids before? Yes. Sure. Right? But it's not like, at the end of the day, like, the community is expecting us to protect and serve. You know what I mean? So, like, the buzzwords are always like community policing. Yeah. It's like, okay, what does that mean? What does that mean, community policing? Well, you just need to get out there and you need to talk to the community more. Like, brother, I'm going to let you know, or sister, I'm going to let you know. When we show up, they don't really want to talk to us because it's not
they don't want
like
to talk.
no
Yeah.
one. I've still yet to have anyone call any of our officers to be like, "Hey, I called you over here. Thought you would like some free food or coffee." That was we're dispatching you to a call to go hang out with some people. That's never happening.
Right.
It's
They just want
always
to talk.
yeah. Now we have people who invite us to community events and buy us food,
Sure.
but there's never like, oh, we're gonna have to dispatch you to this call of playing basketball with kids. That just doesn't happen,
Right.
you know. So I think the perspective, and the other one is, well, I went to college, I got a degree in this, I'm $150,000 in debt, and I thought to myself, what's a stable job with good benefits? And so I decided to be a police officer.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's not a reason.
I want to ask, you asked Crazy Calls, or I think I asked Crazy Calls, but I want to ask both of y'all, at what point did you think this is why I signed up? Like, this is what I signed up for? Call or moment or...
Very first time I was on the end of a... I mean, when I got out of recruit school, I was 2 weeks out of recruit school, and we got punched out on structure fire, and I was on the working end of a nozzle, and it was hot in there. I thought my ears were dripping down the side of my head, and when I came out, it was the greatest thing on this planet, and I knew right then I am in the right place. This is it. I mean, it's just, you're fighting for your life. I mean, yeah, it's just a battle. I mean, you're just going into battle. I mean, it's good.
Break that down. Why? Why is it? Is it just because there's the high stakes?
Yeah, well, just the adrenaline rush. I mean, it's a rush. I mean, you're just going in there, and everything is on fire. And of course, what you see on TV, everybody thinks what you see on TV is what you see inside a fire. You don't see anything inside a fire. You go into a structure fire, it's completely
see darkness.
black. You see darkness, and then you see a glow, and then when you open the nozzle, it all goes dark again. And then this steam drops down on top of you, and you feel like a lobster. You're itching and fetching, trying to get your head inside your coat because it's so hot. And then the fire goes out, and then the real, my training chief when I went through recruit school said it's 3 minutes of nut cutting bliss with 3 hours of hard work afterwards, and that's an exact science to it. You're having fun for 3 minutes, you're fighting fire. I mean, you're doing it, and then the fire goes out, and then you got 3 hours of just hot work in there with a pipe pole, pulling, sealing, and putting out hot spots. Because all those spots that you can't get to with water, you got to open all that up. You got to get all that exposed, so you can put those hot spots out, turn over those big piles of clothes and drag mattresses out the door. And, you spend hours then just doing gritty, nasty, dirty work, and it would just be like getting in the middle of a fire pit and then just taking that fire pit and just dumping it on and just working in that for hours. So that's the hard part of the job, but the 3 minutes makes it worth every bit. So the 3 minutes.
I remember when after our fire, you told me like the temperature inside the building or whatever. That I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think what you told me was like I could have like laid down on the ground and been okay, been really hot. Yeah. But if I got like on my knees, I would have gotten like 2nd-degree burns, and if I stood up, my lungs just would have cauterized or whatever.
Yeah. So it's thermal layering. It's just the same thing like when you have in water. You ever jumped in the lake and it's warm, and then you go down a little bit, and all of a sudden your feet hit that ice cold water. That's the thermocline in the water. Well, we have thermal layering inside of a building, same way. So ceiling on average is about 1,200 degrees. So that's where the heat has actually hit that, and it's actually unable to go anywhere. So then what happens is it starts stacking from there down. The fire's burning in that corner. Heat goes up, travels across the room, hits that wall, and then it just starts pushing down. And I've actually been inside of training fires and had a door just like this where we were burning inside the building, and you was watching the paint bubble crawling down as the heat. You could see it with your eyes. So that there was hardly any smoke because it was in another room, but the heat was traveling throughout the structure, and I was watching the paint bubble as it was coming down, as that layer was coming down. So we call this down here what's called survivable space, and that's where we rescue people from. So they get, they actually collapse, fall on the floor, and there's a small area down there of pretty clean air where it's actually pulling air in, and then that heat's traveling up. And that survivable space, people can survive in that for a long period of time. And that's why when we drag them out, we don't pick them up, because if they're breathing, we crawl in, which we crawl in to stay out of that, even though we got the gear on. We stay out of that because that gear is not fire proof. It's fire resistant. So it has and everything will catch on fire. I mean, molten steel burns, gets hot enough. So that gear will catch on fire. And that little bitty thin plastic glass that covers our face is only good to 400 degrees. So that's the first thing will actually fail because it's just a little layer of plastic. So when that fails, you know, you've lost everything. So we stay face down and stay close down there. When we find somebody, we don't pick them up, because if we pick them up, we're going to put them in that charged air. And then they're going to start breathing that, and they're going to burn their lungs slap up. So what we do is we grab them, we drag them, we keep them in that space and take them all the way out of the structure until we get them away from that heat. So, but that survivable space here can be 100 degrees, 300 degrees, 500 degrees, 600 degrees, all the way up to 1200 degrees at the ceiling.
And I remember you telling me that, because I remember asking you, like, how in the world did the whole gym get destroyed from a very small fire in the back?
Because it had nowhere to go.
Because when they opened that bay door and I saw Todd's mats melted, I was like, what?
Yeah.
How in the world? And then you go to the front and you go, wait a minute, how in the world?
Yeah.
And it's because it literally just
Yeah.
dropped. And you could, like you were saying, you could see like the steel beams were warped and melted and whatever. As you got like 3 feet, 4 feet off the ground, it's like nothing ever happened. Totally
and a steel beam, I think, I'd have to go back and look, but I think like a 20-foot steel beam, if heated to 1200 degrees, will extend 6 inches. So it actually lengthens by 6 inches as it heats up. Well, if you think about that, if you got a whole building full of steel beams and you got block walls on the outside and the building pushes out 6 inches, what's going to happen to the building? It could fall.
Right.
So you also got block, which is non-fire. It's fire resistive, but it's not fire brick. So it's going to spall and start to deteriorate. So, fire it's vicious.
Another thing I learned too is doors are incredibly like impenetrable. Like the office, there was nothing in the office, and the pretty close to the fire was, we had like a ping pong table where the shower rooms were. Somebody we always had that door open. Somebody shut it. There was nothing.
Yeah.
There was papers on like right on the other side of the door lip.
Yeah.
Where there's like a space, not even touched.
Yeah.
But the outside of the door, we had like a first aid kit, and it almost like just got deleted from reality. Just
Survivable
totally
space.
gone.
Well, that's why they tell people to sleep with their doors closed in their houses. That's why we encourage kids and parents to sleep with your doors closed. Because if there's a fire in the house, have you seen the videos and the pictures of the houses where there's been fires inside of them, where they'll be walking in a hallway and it's solid black, everything's solid black to the floor, and there'll be a door that'll be black, and they'll open that door. When you open the door, there's nothing but a kid's room, painted walls, perfectly nothing. Survivable space.
And they're cheap doors too. It's not like they're solid doors.
But it's not getting fire impingement on it. All it's blocking is heat and smoke. So when you think about it, because it's a hollow core door, that's what's actually making it a survivable space, because the hollow core, this side of the door heats up. The hollow core absorbs that heat, so the other side of the door is not heating up. So it's time. It's buying you time. It's buying you time. It's buying you time. That's what it's doing. So there's a science to it, and it works.
It definitely.
It really, really works. But I tell you, number one thing what we teach to sleep with doors closed is smoke detectors. Man, there would be so many people that would live in fires, the houses that have fires, if they had working smoke detectors in their house. People who have working smoke detectors.
Who doesn't have working smoke detectors?
You'd be surprised. So you wouldn't be all of the other than a house that blew up from a meth lab. All the people that I have been in houses where people lost their lives did not have working smoke detectors.
Clip that, upload that,
Yeah,
put a PSA.
Crap.
Did not have working smoke detectors. Had smoke detectors in the house, but the batteries had been dead. They weren't maintaining them. They weren't wired into the structure. I mean, like all the code now, they're wired in and their battery backup. But they're, the old just, $15, Walmart smoke detectors. They're not maintaining them, and they absolutely save people's lives. So, absolutely.
It's intense.
I just don't even think about people not having smoke detectors.
People do not have smoke detectors. There's a lot of people that don't have smoke detectors.
When you said obviously the two things people should do if they want to protect themselves, shut their door and have
working smoke detectors.
Smoke detectors.
Please have working smoke detectors.
When people perish in a fire, is it because they're breathing in like fumes?
It is.
Or
it's
is
the
it heat?
99% of the time, the people that I've seen lost their lives in a fire have no burns on their body whatsoever. They died of smoke inhalation.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
From like polyester and all that stuff.
So back in the early days, firemen didn't wear self-contained breathing apparatus. They hung on the truck as decoration. They didn't wear them. They just went into these fire. You see like the movies. You see these movies where a guy comes out and he's carrying an axe and a baby. And he's those days are gone. Those days were back when structures were built everything was made out of wood and cotton. This would be leather and it would be stuffed with cotton and it would be a wood frame. So everything would be a natural fiber. It'd be anything that was actually on this earth. Well, then we started coming up with these things called polymers, and we started using injection molds, and we started making things out of foams, and we started putting flat screen TV. Flat screen TV used to be made out of glass and wood. Now they're made out of we don't know what. This stuff's being manufactured overseas. China ships it over here. There's a packaging label that tells you that this is not leather, but it doesn't tell you anything what the inside is made of. Then when you set this on fire, it chemically changes to something completely different. They don't study that. But what we have studied is that firemen went from losing their lives in structure fires every year to now more firemen die every year of cancer. And it's because of this. It's because of the stuff we're breathing in, the stuff. And actually, it's not even that we're breathing in. They're saying it's being absorbed through our skin. Oh, wow. So it's coming through our skin, through our turnouts. So we're doing a new thing where we have what's called clean rooms now, where when we have a structure fire, we actually go through a decon process where we shower off while we're wearing all the equipment. Then we take all that equipment off and we actually put a whole nother set of turnout gear on the truck that we all have now, a spare set, while that set is being put into an extractor that we put it in to remove all of the harmful chemicals and stuff from it. So yeah, firemen are dying way more from cancer now than they are from, and firemen don't even smoke. I mean, I think of 106 employees in our fire department, and 2 people smoke cigarettes. So it's, and used to everybody smoked. Now but the thing is, everybody quit smoking. Now people are dying of cancer. And it's from the chemicals that we're absorbing into our bodies from these structures.
So even through all your gear, the smoke's penetrating.
Yeah, it saturates.
It just saturates your skin.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Saturates in your gear, saturates in your skin, goes right into your bloodstream. I mean, you look around the room, there's nothing. I mean, you start thinking about what in here is a natural made fiber product that's not.
That table.
Yeah, that table's made out of wood.
The table? Yeah, those chairs are resin.
Yeah.
So those would not be good.
These are not. These are not. But also another thing too with the structure fires too. I mean, the houses in the old days when they had like natural products in them, they burned slow. Like you take a piece of cotton and set it on fire, it burns slow. So fires would be in their incipient stage for a long time. Also, houses were compartmentalized. Even your grandmother's house, they didn't have one giant room. They had, had a small living room and they had a dining room and they had a hallway and it was real corridored off the entire house. So when you had a fire, it took it a long time to spread around the house. Now we're all about open space. So it's open spaces, truss systems, and then we're putting fast burning furniture inside there. So our time from the time a fire starts and it's detected to us actually being able to get in there is that window's getting smaller. So, and we have to have all that safety equipment on because this stuff is just so bad for you certainly don't want to breathe it. But on top of that, it's just going right into our skin. So it's changed. The thing is that the fires have gotten more dangerous and firemen have gotten softer. So, and it's, so we've got to go back to the that's where I talked about the training aspect of it and being the physical condition to do the job, because the fires are not safer. They're way more dangerous than what they used to be.
We do, like in police work, we've obviously gained a lot from technology and whatnot. And I guess the talk is always like the new guys couldn't police without a computer in the car. Do y'all have something similar to that in the fire service where it's like the tech has changed so much that like if it failed, these guys like couldn't do their job?
The biggest thing would be mapping. Okay. We used to use map books.
Yeah.
So when I started in the fire service, you had the big 3-ring binder, and they dispatched the address and you wrote it down on a piece of paper. You went out and you got in the truck and you went to the index and you looked at it, it gave you a page number. And then you went to that page and then you found that address and it had your hydrants and all your locations on it. And then you told the driver, whoever's driving, you mapped it out for them. Well, now everybody's got, now we do through Shelby County 911. So everything's catted, a lot of times I get the call on my phone before it even dispatches over the system, before I even hear it. So the address and everything pops up on there. Then it gives you routing, tells you all the ways to go. All of our hydrants are on there. But so that would be biggest thing that a lot of these new guys wouldn't have clues how to use a map book, an old school map book. I tell you the address, and then you got to actually go get a book out and be familiar
Well, the
with the
only
territory.
argument to that would be like if we have something that takes down all the cell phones and all the GPS and all that, then we've got a much bigger problem on our hands than you know what I mean. And are people actually coming into work to work for Vestavia's fire department, or are they going to be playing hero for their own families? You know what I mean?
That's the thing. That's what people like. If the day ever comes, police and firemen ain't going to work. You're gonna stay home, take care of your own family. So they jump up, declare martial law, or a nuclear weapon hit somewhere. I'm not going to that stadium. I'm going home. Mm-hmm. I got a family to take care of.
Going back to what we were talking about, sawing that wood, I remember talking about prepping with you, and you gave me a lot of good advice of, I was overthinking it, really. 6 weeks of food for every person and enough water, and like what you said, if there's a EMP or who knows, and everything's down, it's going to be crazy. And
EMP is the way to do it. That's it. You want to shut down the continental U.S., you put a couple of EMPs up there. That's what 25,000 feet sky. You'll never even hear it. You don't even know what happened. It won't even make a sound. It's so high up, it'll never make a sound, but it'll drop down and shut everything down.
So what would you say? Because I overdid it after talking to you. What would you tell somebody because we're talking about being self-sufficient, the average person.
Survival skills.
What would you say for somebody? Yeah.
For me?
Yeah, for anybody that is scared of that. I guess we can't go back to
it's kind of like James talked about earlier, how you got that list, those 5 people that like first of all, you're gonna get with those folks. Because communities coming together is going to be the ticket. You're going to have to put together a community of people, and you're going to need people all that have different skills, people who have mechanical ability, people who can grow crops, people who can fish, and people who can shoot guns, people who can for defense. You're going to need medical people, people who can take care of wounds. But survivability is just knowing how to build a fire, knowing how to cut down a tree, know how to chop firewood, know how to use a gun, having plenty of guns. I told you about before, the two biggest things you'll have to worry about if that ever happens. Number one's human being, and number two will be the domesticated dog. Because domesticated dogs will go back to pack mentality, and the largest will live, and they will be many, many of them. So human beings and domesticated dogs will be there. Hey, there's people getting killed on the news by domesticated dogs right now, twice in a week.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But yeah, that's survive. Prepping, I think, is good. You're going to have to prep some, but prepping is going to run out.
Yeah.
What are you going to do when that runs out? So 6 weeks is a good idea to have that, but in 6 weeks, what are you going to do?
Right.
It's like have chickens, be able to raise crops, and ATF. Everybody knows what the ATF is, but alcohol, tobacco, and firearms will be the 3 most traded commodity on this planet when that happens. So those 3 things will always be in demand. And those things will always be tradable. So
and you should know too, like people are going to make the wrong decisions.
Oh yeah,
because when happened, right? Sorry, we shouldn't say that. Let me rephrase it. So
there's a bunch of things we're gonna have to.
Yeah. when the night
during early 2020.
Yeah, during early 2020, what did people panic and toilet paper?
Yeah,
that was crazy to me.
The toilet paper was the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life because.
Well, I mean, milk and bread's right up there, but we do that every time it's going to snow.
Yeah.
Milk and bread.
And Pop-Tarts.
If you think wiping your butt is the worst thing you're going to have to worry about,
it was crazy.
Yeah. When I was a kid, I know I'm going to age myself here real quick. I wore cloth diapers. Yeah. There wasn't such thing as a disposable diaper. They used cloth diapers. Guess what they did? They washed them and reused them again. That's to think that toilet paper is what you need to be stocking up on. Go get all you want.
It's crazy.
That's not what you need.
There were brawls.
Yeah. Then there was brawls when they were trying to return it, because then they were trying to return it afterwards, and then they wouldn't take it back. They said, "No, we're not. You can't return that."
No.
There were brawls over that. It's.
But yeah, the milk. Need milk and bread.
Yeah, you're buying yourself a couple of days.
10-pound bag of rice, and you know what I mean.
It's thinking a long-term plan, and it's a community. Like you said, that list of people that you said, hey, if if that crap hits the fan, these are the people I want.
Yeah.
And it's knowing where those people are at and saying, hey, if it happens, be here. And we'll all put all our eggs in one basket. We'll get through this. And it's finding those five people that you want. So
Yeah, and I think also you touched on it. We won't get into like a lot of the Katrina stuff and whatnot, but the one thing that, because Andrew's told me some about it, is people literally just wait around for help.
well, look at Texas. Remember when when they had the
Freeze.
the freeze.
Oh, the freeze.
They had the
Power
freeze
went
in
down.
Texas when they were off the grid and all the solar panels out there got snow on top of them. They lost power. People froze to death there were families frozen to death in their homes. And in that home was an entire dining room set made out of wood. There were beds made out of wood. There was everything they had in that house that they needed to go outside and build a fire and provide themselves with warmth. They had there. They waited on the government.
And did you go there? You would. Oh, you did not.
No. I did not go there. We weren't sent to that. There was no deployment on that.
Yeah. Wooden furniture and
Yeah.
not thinking. And I think you
Just
told me they
wait
had
and
like
sat.
they had fireplaces.
Yeah.
Some gas, some real, but
Yeah,
never
they
even occurred.
sat and waited on help to show up, and help didn't come in time.
When it's that mass of an event, like, I mean, you want to help everybody, but like you got to prioritize, or you
Yeah.
got to try to like get
Right.
to them. And like you said, they're probably police and firemen who were
They're home.
taking care of their
You
families.
got to understand.
right?
I mean, the police and firemen and Alabama Power and the gas company, those people are not going to work. They're not going to work. They're going home. They're going home to their families. They're going to go where what's important to them. So, yeah, you won't wait on them. If you
And
wait
it's
on
also, it's not like they're being selfish. It's impractical.
They're not being
you've got
selfish.
10 feet
It's
of
a
snow
job.
or whatever it is.
It's your job. Yeah, it's a job. It's not. Yeah, it's people are going to go home.
So a mild amount of preparation, because that's what I told Candace. I
A
was like,
mild amount of preparation is extremely smart, but the knowledge of what to do and how to do it is way more important. Yeah, having a plan.
yeah, even if there's like a flood or a tornado or whatever,
Yeah.
it's nice to know that you don't have to, because we had a tree block our entrance. Like 3 trees came down during the winds a month ago or 2
Yeah.
months ago. And luckily there was a back way in, but it was nice to go, hey, we're not in trouble here. We've got some stuff. We need to go
sure,
downstairs and
Yeah.
we're not
Yeah.
in trouble.
Of course, and everything I offer is an opinion. I mean, I'm telling my opinion just from life experience of what I think. Not everything. I'm not saying not all this is factual, but just doing what I do and seeing what I've seen in my lifetime. People are, if like I said, if the world was coming to an end and all of a sudden the whole an EMP went off and the world shut down, this population would get really small real quick. For the people who don't have any skills that would wait on somebody to show
We're
up.
just thinking outside the box too, because like you were talking about, like the roads closed down or whatever. If like the roads are iced over and people, I can't go get food. They forget their feet work.
Yeah. And you
Like,
can walk.
especially like here in Trussville.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you can go down the road to the store. You can walk places.
Yeah,
you
can
can
walk.
get out. You can call someone else and who does have capabilities. That tree down, can't get my car out. Call someone and walk past
somebody-
the tree and
have
then
somebody pick you up.
pick you up. Yeah, you know.
Yeah.
I got a question.
Okay.
What are some common traits of people who thrive under pressure?
Common traits of people who thrive under pressure.
Because after the fire, I went over to his place because you built a house. I built this. I don't know if you had as good of an experience as I did. Mine was great for a while, and then
Mine was pretty good. Mine was pretty good. Yeah.
I would never willingly build a house after this.
Well, I had a little more control. I had, my builder, I did a lot of stuff my own. So he let me pull out.
There you go.
So he let me pull out a lot of stuff that I paid for out of because I was writing him checks, and I said, before we ever started, I said, I want to do my own cabinets. I want to do my own countertops. I want to do my own, so I listed all the things I want to do because my mother retired from Alabama Cabinets So I could get all the cabinets and get better. I could get the top quality and get the #1 granite and all that for what he was going to put in the #2 stuff for. So I could actually upgrade on some of that stuff. So I had a little more control on that side of it going in, which made it. There were still hiccups. I mean, there was still stuff that I'd walk in and be like, "Whoa, wait a second. There's supposed to be a door there, and where did that door come?" So there was those moments. Where it just they decided that it looked like it'd be okay and they just do it. But it was it was okay. I'd do it again. I've heard people always say I'll never do it. It was okay. I'm not planning on doing it again. Of course, that house I built this is like is it. So but I would do it again. But
I feel bad for Blaylock because some of these subs are great.
Yeah.
Like Chris Jones.
Yeah.
I mean, I literally text Chris and because he's one of the subs and say, "Hey, Tyler said this," and he's like, "I'll be there in 10 minutes." Yeah. And there's a reason why he's successful. And then there's other subs that just would not work.
Yeah. I pulled up to mine. I pulled up mine many a day when it was sunshine outside. There would be a soul there. And then I'd pull up and it'd be raining. They'd be sitting there in their trucks. They'd drive off. And I'd be like, maybe I'll come back when it's sun shining. Which I also learned with these subs that like they don't work on one job. They're working on like 10 jobs. Mm-hmm. So what they do is whatever the squeakiest wheel is gets the grease. So whoever's about to fire them, that's where they'll go work that day. Hey, I'm going to get some more subs. I will be there tomorrow. So they'll show up and work a couple days. And then the other squeaky wheel over here on the other side of town starts saying, so then they'll go work at this. So otherwise they would just do one job and then they may sit for 3 months waiting on another job. So they keep jobs in rotation the whole time. That's why they're not on the job all the time, because they're having to go put grease on those wheels that are making noise because somebody's jumping up and down. So, but we got through it. It was a learning process, but I'd do it again.
I had to learn I had to become a squeaky wheel. I literally
you
told
do.
Tyler, I was
you
like,
have to become
I'm going to call you
wheel.
Mr. Tomorrow. I'm going to call you Mr. Tomorrow because you keep telling me tomorrow. And he's like, it's not me, it's a sub. And I was like,
they're everywhere. And those guys are scattered like ants, man. It's like kicking an ant pile.
I said, they're making you look bad, trying to get some fire under him. And that's not my personality. I'm just like, it is what it is. Like, it's cool, it'll happen, but it won't.
No, you have to be a squeaky wheel. Yeah, I had to call mine several times, but like, hey, when can you be out of the house? What's going on? Just tell me when you can be out here. I'm here. Yeah. I'll be there in 20 minutes. He'd show up. And
well, obviously we call it the It Is What It Is podcast because we definitely have had those experiences and, we've talked about them and especially with the gym. It's one of the first things he said when somebody asked him and, with Logan and our lives with that, it's just, hey, it is what it is and you got to keep trucking. Do you have like a defining moment or anything where it was like you were maybe dealt a bad hand or in a bad situation where you then approached it with that mentality?
I'm trying to think of one specific moment. There's so many. Life is full of it is what it is. Just because, and
I think there's a lot of people who don't have those moments and don't know what that's like.
It's called adversity. For a reason. I mean that it's because if you're winning all the time, that's a boring life.
Well, I think that's why people break down or have those that anxiety issue and stuff like that. Because not that my problems have been the biggest problem in the world, and there's other people who've had it way worse than me and way worse than you and way worse than you. But for everyone has the worst thing that's ever happened to them, but it may be. Mine may be this, and theirs may be that their Chipotle got screwed up. You know what I mean? So, you know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
Yeah, like the people that I get along best with are people that I know have had really tough lives. Yeah. Not because I'm like empathizing. It's like we've both gone through things, but you can just tell when somebody has been approached with adversity and gotten over it, and they're cool, almost as well as you can tell when somebody has not had much difficulty and the simplest things just they blow up. Yeah. And
so my wife and I both grew up in not poor houses, but there was 7 of us living in a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house when I grew up. And my dad was always like, you need to learn a skill, you don't need to go to college, it's a waste of time, learn a skill. He was always pushing that. So when I got out of high school, I went straight to work. I didn't go to college. College wasn't even in the realm. And my wife was the same way. There was nobody in her family went to college. Nobody in my family. There was no such thing. It was work. Go out, work hard for a living, be good to people, tell the truth. go make a living, take care. And that's what I did. I got out and went to work. I learned how to do chassis work, got ASC certified, and was loving it. But I knew there was something missing. There was always just that something missing. And my dad came down with cancer, pancreatic cancer. He was in Vietnam, and they said it was probably something he got exposed to. There was no telling, all kinds of stuff. But it was kind of like a reality check of just like, I don't know. It was just a moment in my life where there was a reality check of like, I want to do something different. I want to do something different. I'm not just going to just go out here and just grind and do this for the rest of my life. I'm not just I want to be. And thing is, it requires college to be a paramedic. And I want to be a paramedic. I also want to be a firefighter. And so I started, enrolling in that and chasing that dream. And right after my dad came to the fire college when I graduated from recruit school, and he died right shortly after that. But it was that moment of, I don't know, it was I'm trying to think of the word. I don't know. There's just so many. It's hard.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of is what it is moments.
I think you live it every day, honestly.
Yeah, I think there's so much. It is what it is. I think prioritizing what is. I don't worry about the things I used to worry about anymore. I used to worry about dumb stuff. I used to worry about the little stuff, the stupid stuff. And now that I've gotten older, material things don't mean anything anymore. It's family. It's the relationships. It's relationships with people. And it's my family. It's my wife. It's my children. It's my grandchildren. It's the firemen that I work with, the relationships I have with them, relationships I have with you guys, relationships with people here in this gym. I cherish those more than anything I own materialistically in this world. I don't care about, I wouldn't sacrifice anything in my family or in the relationships that I got for something material.
We didn't start this specifically to impact anybody, but I think, and we've talked about it, is a lot of men, probably even your age, but definitely our age and definitely younger, are just disenfranchised and have their priorities all jacked up.
Yeah.
Talking about weakness. Weakness is a variable of it, but I don't like, especially the social media and TikTok and pulling everybody's focus away from what really matters.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you're definitely hitting the nail on the head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was for many years. It was, and everybody gets caught up in that. You're looking at, like, you want to be successful. You want to be successful. You want to be successful. And I heard, and of course I watch motivational videos, and I like watching, I look at a lot of motivational kind of stuff. And I heard this, they asked this guy who was one of the richest guys in the world. He's like, what's your true measure of success? And you can look this up on YouTube, but, and his answer was, if your true success is if your adult children want to spend time with you. That means you're successful. It means you've done it right. If your adult children want to come to your house and spend time with you on holidays and birthday parties, and they want to bring their grandkids, your grandchildren there, and they want to be around you, you are a successful person. And that like really hit deep for me, because I was like, because my kids live at my house practically. They don't, but they have their own homes, but they're there all the time. And I thought about how much that joy that actually brings, the fact that my adult children love being with their parents, and then my grandchildren love being there all the time too. And that to me is more successful than anything I could ever possibly pay for in this world. So.
Yep. I was telling James, I did and we'll wrap it up, but I did a mentoring group a few years ago, and with successful people financially.
Yeah.
I wanted to learn about real estate and cap rates and all the language, and learn how to provide for my family and leave a legacy. And the first meeting, guy shows me this cabin that's $3-4 million. I was like, oh my gosh. And he's like, it's one of my properties. And I was like, holy smokes, this guy's crazy successful. And then the meeting was about getting out of depression. I thought it was going to be about accumulating more properties, or making life simpler, working less.
Right.
And it was because everybody there was jacked up mentally. They did have money. They could afford anything they wanted, but they had nothing that their money couldn't buy, which was their relationships and their
Yeah.
friends and family. And then you find out later in talking with this guy that he's divorced and his kids have moved on, and it's like, golly.
And I've seen it.
Yeah, there's nothing really to.
I've seen it. I've ran calls in $1 million houses that you go into and somebody is on their dying deathbed and there is a paid caregiver sitting there next to them while they're taking their final breaths, and there's not a single family member in their house. Someone that is getting a paycheck as they're taken care of. And the cars are in the driveway, fountains are running, beautiful spot. And they're coldest place on the planet when you walk inside of it, and it's miserable. And I've walked into houses that cost $30,000, or somebody living in a mobile home where kids are playing and and the atmosphere is just love. So money does not, to me, that biggest life change for me is the fact that money does not bring me any joy whatsoever. It's a necessity.
Right.
But family and relationships is what it's all about. And being in a promoted position with the department, having to make decisions I know that impact those guys has also changed me a lot in the fact that I realize that the decisions that I make, not only do they impact them, it impacts their families as well. So my number one priority, and I tell every guy that works with me, my number one priority is that everybody goes home at 7:00 tomorrow morning. Other than that, we'll handle anything you throw at us. I don't care what it is. We'll handle anything that comes at us. I just want everybody to get up tomorrow morning at 7:00, go home to their families. That's number one priority in what we do. So,
And my mindset has shifted a lot as well. Even though I'm next month will be 13 years into my career.
Yeah.
But even so, it used to be like I never took off.
Yeah.
Oh, I take off now.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Like I take off now a lot of it right now is for like trying to grow the business and whatnot. But I also like I'm gonna burn that time. What am I gonna do at the 25-year mark with 1 billion hours of vacation or sick time or whatever, which, I save my sick time. So if Logan's out and I need to be out, I can, but like the overtime, like banked overtime that I can take off and my vacation, like you only accrue more and more and more. Like now when I was baby cop, I only got 8 hours a month. Well, now I get 12 hours a month. And then when you get on up there,
15.96.
And then when you get on up there, you get 24 a month. And it's like, I know guys that are like, yeah, I got to take off all this week at the end of the year because otherwise my vacation's going to roll into my sick. And I'm like, well, you take off more. Like,
take off.
This place going to run without us.
Off.
If I leave tomorrow, the police department ain't going to shut down.
Nope.
Vestavia Hills, it may not run as smooth.
It
may run smoother.
It might run better.
But it will run.
But it's going to keep on.
Running.
I tell my guys too. I tell them, be with your families. Take off. Do the dance recitals. Take off. Do the baseball games. Don't miss that stuff. And on Christmases, we do this deal where, like, if I'm working on a Christmas day or something, I'll come in for those guys that are working on Christmas. Like, I'll come in and work for them. If I'm off, I'll come in at 7 a.m. and work for them till like noon to give them that time at home with their families.
Morning.
Because it's awesome. You never get that. You never will get that back ever. You can't replace it ever. Once it's gone, it's past. I tell them, be with your families, do stuff, take the vacations. Don't put it into your retirement thinking. We had a guy at Vestavia, 25 years, never took off. He was an officer when he left. Goes on a camping trip 6 months afterwards. His wife rolled over to wake him up and he died. He lived 6 months past his retirement. Never took off. And I'm like, don't be that guy. Enjoy it now. Enjoy your families, be with your children. Be with your family. Take the trip. Spend the money. Save money. Spend the money.
Right.
Spend it. Enjoy it. Prepare for your retirement. Save money, but spend money. Enjoy your time with your family. You'll never get it back.
Yeah, my growing up, it was penny pinching, and it wasn't because we didn't have. It was because my parents were raised by their parents who, were like, save everything.
Yeah.
And so that's what my parents did and whatnot. And so it was, we still had stuff, right? I still got toys, and don't get me wrong, and all that sort of stuff, like as a kid. And they got me a car and all that. But now it's just like, for us, it's like, we got money coming in, we've got retirement stuff.
Yeah.
It's like, if we want something,
Yeah.
we go get it.
Sure.
Like, we go buy it. If
Sure.
it's
We do
feasible.
too. Same way.
Just because, like, the last thing I'm going to stress about is money.
Yeah. Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm just not going to do it. Whole point of the business is just so, to grow it to, it's a grind right now. It's a short grind. It's
Sure.
like I was kind of chilling, and then now I'm back in a grindy phase. I'm
Right.
starting this business, but it's because I'm looking at that end goal. I'm looking at getting, Candace,
Yeah.
not working on the weekends so she can have that time with her
Yeah.
on the weekends. So, but yeah. Anything else you want to, before we wrap up?
No, it's been enlightening for me. I'm going to take my kids on another vacation here.
And take them. Hey, so you asked about is what it is. Well, I had a funny. So I went to a local Chevrolet dealership in 2017 and bought a brand spanking new Chevrolet truck. And it wasn't a great experience at this dealership. We were there for like 5 hours, and I made the mistake of taking my wife with me and should not have taken her with me. And because she doesn't like the sales stuff. Mm-hmm. She doesn't like I'm going to go talk, blah, she doesn't like that back and forth part. And after about 5 hours, she was about to claw the glass out of that place. And it was like 8 o'clock at night. We finally leave this dealership, and she's about to starve to death. So I take her over to the restaurant here in Trussville, pull up in the parking lot, park the truck.
I don't like this.
Me either already.
And so it's the one up on the hill up there for Cajun Steamer.
Okay.
So we're at Cajun Steamer. It's late. So I park away from everybody else.
Oh, yeah.
We're walking down the hill to the restaurant, and you hear boom, and there's a car has just backed in. I'm not bumped into, just floored it from the fire into the front of this truck, and then proceeds to leave.
Oh my goodness.
And and I ended up jumping on the hood of this car to stop this car. And it's full of female.
Do not advise that.
It's got female. Well, not jump, but I put my hands on the hood of the car and made her stop the car. And she stopped.
She stopped it because she wanted to, because you will never stop a car.
Yeah. I knew I wasn't going to stop it. Well, and I wasn't like directly in front. I was to the side.
I know.
It was a safe. Hey. So she stops the car, and I said, "You just backed into a truck." She said, "No, I didn't." I said, "Yes, you did." And she goes, "I hit a tree." I said, "There's no trees in the middle of the parking lot. Put the car in park." And well, she thought she had backed over one of those, little areas where they have a little river rock. She thought she hit one of those. She realized she hit the truck. So mom and dad came up there. It was they were very upset, and my wife, to say upset would not even be. But the dad came up to me and he said, "I'm so very sorry." And I said, "It is what it is." I was like, "I'm not going to get upset. It's a truck. It's a material thing." Yeah. He goes, "Yep. Didn't you just?" I said, "I drove it. It's got 7 miles on it. I drove it from the dealership here." He goes, "I don't know how you're staying so cool." I said, "Well, when you do what I do for a living, you figure out that's not important.
Right.
Those girls are okay. That's replaceable. That's what insurance is for." And but it was just my wife didn't see it that way. She was very upset. She was like, 5 hours and you got a wrecked truck.
So, because she just had to go through that painful process.
She goes to pay, and she's begging me to feed her, and then we're dealing with a wreck. So, and the truck's parked. So, yeah, but it is what it is. Hey, it is what it is. I told him when you said that, I told him, hey, it is what it is, man. Everybody's okay. And right. The important thing is nobody was hurt, and they didn't leave. Yeah. So, but yeah, the little girl cried and cried and cried. Sure. So, because she wasn't even supposed to be driving her friend's car that she was driving.
Oh my goodness!
It got worse and worse as the night
always
went on.
Like that.
It's always like that.
It's always a snowball.
You
do one little wrong thing, and then it can really get out of hand.
They were leaving there though, but said she thought she backed into the median things. I think is what she called it, whatever those little islands are where the light poles are.
Yeah.
Yeah, she thought she hit one of those. Nope.
Wish she would have. 7
miles. 7 miles on it.
Brutal.
Yeah.
Brutal.
But I've had a lot of those in my life. A lot of is what it is moments. It's just you figure out what's important, and 99% of those is what it is are not important. They're not worth getting in a twist over. Yeah. It's just.
You got anything else?
No, dude. Thanks for taking the time.
Yeah,
I know we tried to like schedule this for a couple weeks.
We
It's
did.
just-
I
we're
know.
always-
Just
the
like
schedule's
schedule.
just-
Yeah, we got a team deployed that they just came back from Texas, so we've been short staffed and out there helping with the floods and stuff. So we've been all hands on deck at the department.
They've been seeing it then if they're out there at those floods.
They're back. Yeah, they were there for 2 weeks. There was 16 total that went from some of the local department too from Vestavia. So yeah, it was good.
Well, cool. That's all I got. Yeah. If you made it this far, appreciate you watching. We're gonna have more people on, talk about these kind of stories, learn from each other.
Mm-hmm.
That's your biggest thing, right?
Yes.
And
Learn
so-
from successful people. You
Yeah.
know, that's part of in the original write up that I had, because everybody defines success differently, and I define success very similar to you.
Mm-hmm.
And I also know that I'm not always right, so I'd like to bring people on that I respect to see their perspectives.
Right.
And So I appreciate you.
No, I appreciate
Let
it.
me
It's
learn.
fun. Yeah. We talk about stuff all the time. So yeah, he and I get in these conversations about, I don't know how we get in these conversations. We're always traveling down rabbit holes of different scenario stuff. And what about this? And what about that? And yeah. And I'm just like you. I make mistakes every day. I don't always have the right answer, but I have life experience, so I do see a lot of life experience, enough to make me learn what's important. So
Right, exactly.
It makes me.
And if you were the girl that backed up into Adrian, if you comment below your contact information, I'd love to have you on.
Get your side of the story. There's two sides to every story, and we're willing to hear yours.
Yeah, so she's gonna be in her early 20s by now. So yeah, she's probably wanting to forget about that moment, I'm sure. But yeah, poor little girl, she cries. She was so upset. So, but of course, I've got a daughter. So my first thing is like, it's okay, it's all right. It's just a child.
Right,
So
exactly.
She's a child.
Thank you, man.
Well,
Sure.
awesome, bro.
Thank y'all.
And we'll be back soon. No promises. We'll be back
seriously.
soon. Get somebody else on here and keep on grinding with it. So until then, we'll see y'all.